With a light flick of his fingers, the cigarette flew into the sky, tracing a desolate arc. For a moment under the night sky before it fell, the cold wind claimed its remaining life. He leaned back from his shoulder into one hand. Lifting his flip-flop adorned right foot, he took a step off the 100-meter tall tower, stepping into the night sky, surrounded by the whistle of frigid wind. In the middle of his fall, a warp. Then he reappeared. He was already standing at the bottom of the iron tower. The irregular cadence of his flip-flop reverberated as he slowly walked away. He took out an empty plastic bottle before casually raising it to one side. Sound echo. From within the darkness, something fell into the small opening of the bottle. The cigarette butt that the man had sent flying earlier. He conveniently tossed the plastic bottle into a garbage can by the sidewalk before his silhouette disappeared into the depth of the night. Inside a secret room within a city, dusky lamplight reflect off the front of an expensive round marble table. A middle-aged man dressed in a brand Western suit knit his brow. Tap rhythmically on the tabletop. Come. The middle-aged man muttered to himself in this secret room devoid of people. He lifted his hand and picked up the bottle of vodka before slowly pouring himself half a glass. The hand around the glass swirled slightly, causing the dark brown vodka to sway evenly. White smoke started to gradually rise from around the drinking glass. As the alcohol within emits whiffs of cold air, the man emptied the glass of vodka in one shot. He cast a glance at the empty chair in front of the table. Does not have rushed here for us. Otherwise, knowing his temper, he must have already been here long ago. Without a warning, a voice dripped out from the completely empty chair. Soft, charming, a moan. Another glance at the chair confirmed that it was really as empty as before. Even if he was merely passing by. In 2 days, could it be that there is still something keeping him here? And had grown accustomed to the strange phenomena before him, so he continued to speak about his doubt. It's mine, we can only guess. The feminine voice sounds somewhat helpless. Regardless of the reason, send out an order for anyone to halt all activities at hand and hide themselves. By all means, do not attempt to approach him or pry into anything, because no matter what we do, it cannot escape his perception. The middle-aged man poured himself another second glass of vodka, and just like before, the room temperature vodka came to a slight stop. Pour the air continuously congealed in the glass. That project already cannot be halted. We are going against nature. Once it's set into motion, it cannot be stopped midway, or all our effort will be for naught. From now on, you will be in charge of watching over the experiment. We're already preparing for 30 years for this project. We cannot afford even a single mistake. Then, heaven's law, the woman spoke with hesitation. Heaven's law does not apply to him. It cannot apply to him. And our preparation from before were enough to conceal it from heaven's law. Experiment attentively. Make sure that absolutely nothing happened to it. Fine. I hope that nothing unexpected will arise. High heels against the floor resound before gradually fading into the distance. The empty seat no longer emit any other sound. In a faraway seaside town, a man attired in a Taoist robe sat cross-legged in the room of a shabby rent house. man had handsome and bright feature, a well-built physique, and a crew cut that gave off a fresh and cool impression. Yet the resolute planes of his cheek revealed his scholarly countenance. Were arranged on the floor before him. Broken blade, a shattered sign gourd, and a broken mast tie with a yellow ribbon. And slowly raised his hand. The skin of his palms passed as a fine and exquisite sword slowly emerged. Splendor to it as it sparkled and glitter. The sword hilt that seemed to have been ground from precious stone were inscribed with the yin-yang symbols. Blade, that seemed to have been carved from jadeite, was densely packed with numerous inscriptions on its surface. Soon, that day would come. I hoped that he didn't deceive me, but if it was true then, what does everything we have gone through before amount to? The man stared at the long swords floating in his palm. For a long time he didn't utter a word. Finally, his gaze stopped on the old broken object in front of him, a complicated mood that was difficult to describe gripped him. The end. That's it for me.
Yay! Now Grenn can take questions in the Sing Sing channel. Remember to mention her if you have questions. Give it a few seconds. Alrighty. If you think of a question for Grenn later, feel free to ask it. We can always back around at the tail end if you're too shy to ask now. Grenn, you didn't get any questions right now, right? Okay, take that as a no. Then next up, oh, thank you, Grenn, for the master PC and during fetters, whatever the title will end up being. Then next up is Ruyi and Unruly Phoenix Xiaoyao.
Oh, good morning, guys. It is 10:22 a.m. on the East Coast today. Weather is partly cloudy, hot. All right. Nice to join. I mean, it's great to join you guys. This morning I'm going to be reading at least one chapter of Unruly Phoenix Xiaoyao, maybe two, depending on how fast I go. And the interesting thing is that a reader actually told me to read in Chinese, which, despite being my first language, isn't my best language. But we'll try and see what happens. I have this on a dictionary right now, so if I have words I'm not sure, I'll probably pause at odd places. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Are we all ready? Oh, time fun! I'll marry you, sure. Okay. Okay. Shush, Prem. Sorry, dude. She was always my waifu. Take that. Anyways, Fluff, you're like my queen, my empress. You're beyond waifu. Corn, wait, you guys, we're getting distracted. Oh, Kuja knows I have like multiple husbandos. Okay, guys, we gotta get back on track. I only have like 20 or so minutes, so we'll save the relationship struggles for later. First, let me see if my music's okay. How's that? Is that too loud? Can you guys still hear me? I picked something soft this time. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to activate my recording on this side. Don't miss out this time. Soften it by a few skira. Sorry, can't pronounce her name. Let's go. Here we go. 刁蛮小药黄。第一章，不是女人，就是太监。林小药坐在椅子上，周围围了一圈人，个个神经叫急，冲他喊圣上。因为人们都是在大声喊叫，所以这喊声就形成了声浪，排山倒海一般扑向了宁小药。宁小药被这声浪拍打得有些昏，但还是下意识地伸手摸了摸自己的下面，空的。所以他要不然还是性别为女，要不然这个皇帝就是个太监。声浪在宁小药伸手摸胯下的时候，诡异地停了一下。就算是一国之君，当众做这个动作，那也是猥琐的。宁小药摸完了胯下，又摸自己的脑袋，额头上鼓着大肉包子一样的包。宁小药龇牙咧嘴了一下，看了看深造的众人，还是决定要沉默是金。半个小时之前，宁小药还奋斗在人类末世的战场上。身为军团的少校军医官，他看着校官战死了，校官战死了，战友们战死了，最后宁小药也拉向了身上最后一颗手雷，跟冲上来的丧尸同归于尽了。眼睛一闭一睁，发现自己不但有心跳，身边还围着一帮穿着古装的男男女女。面对丧尸都不会受惊吓的宁小药，这下子受到了惊吓。这会儿半个小时过去了，宁小药想明白了一件事，那就是他一定是穿越了。门被人大力地撞开，一个身着盔甲的年轻人冲到了宁小药的面前，扑通一声跪倒在地，冲宁小药喊道：“圣上，杜诗是冤枉的。”宁小药坐着弯腰，想把这年轻人拉起来，有什么事非得跪下来说呢？年轻人见宁小药冲自己伸手了，忙就将身体一挺，一把抓住宁小药的手，边摇边喊：“圣上，杜诗一心为国，他不可能叛国，这是太师他们的奸计。圣上，你不能听信太师的话。”脑袋本来就昏着，被这年轻人抓着手一晃，宁小药昏得更厉害了，只来得及在心中产生一个疑问：杜诗是谁？之后，宁小药就又昏了。一片黑暗中，宁小药看见离自己不远处有一道光影，一个贵妇人跟着一个14、15岁的少年并排站着，两个人的对面站着一个身穿龙袍的人。圣上，你弟弟长大成人了，你可以脱下这身龙袍，恢复你的身了。贵妇人跟着穿龙袍的人道：“我对你来说就这么一个作用吧。”身穿龙袍的人声音听着很清凉。父皇死时，你弟弟还在襁褓之中。贵夫人的目光冰冷，说道：“一个婴儿如何登基为帝？你的那些皇兄不会同意，朝臣也不会同意。所幸你外祖父有先见之明，哀家生下你时，便对外道你是男儿身。出宫归家， 请亲，喝下催产的汤药，在娘家提前生产。身着龙袍的人看着贵夫人的目光也是冰冷，低声道：“你产后用鸡血浇床，说是产后出血。又找高僧说，我与你命中相克，将我留在太师府，一留便是15年。”贵夫人抬手摸一下身边少年的头，叹道：“谁让你是个女人身呢？皇宠你如命，我敬你爱你，你这样对得起谁？”穿着龙袍的人突然就大声质问着道。贵夫人的嘴角边露出一丝笑意，道：“来人，送您律上路。”男人从黑暗中冲出，将身穿着龙袍的人按倒在地上，捏开嘴，倒了一罐液体进去，看着血从年轻人的嘴里流出，明小耀张大了嘴：“亲妈把贵女杀了？”北湖的人大军已经入关，身着龙袍的人口出鲜血，手指着贵府和少年人道：“国将不国，我看你们能掌这天下几时？”宁小耀迈步往前跑去，这会儿不是看戏的时候了，他得救人啊！只是出乎宁小耀预料的是，他跑得身着龙袍的人前时，脚下被什么东西绊了一下，他一个跟头就往前迈去，身穿龙袍的人原地消失了，贵夫人和少年人，还有几个贵夫人的手下都不见了。宁小耀就感觉自己的身体在不断的往下坠落，像是从云端坠向见不到底的深渊。Okay. Well, that was hard, but that was chapter 1. Don't you know that some
Questions
people
for Ruyi mentioned
are hungry?
questions.
And sure, I'll marry you again. You're welcome. I just recorded myself saying I'll marry Time Bun. Prem. Jeez. Yes, me and Punder are friends. Yes, I'll marry you, Koo. Did anyone keep track?
I was like 10 minutes-ish, 11, 12.
Wasn't that like 7 minutes? Didn't you start reading at 20?
Yeah.
Okay, all right then. I should have enough time to do chapter 2. Then, all right, let's start chapter 2. Oh yes, thank you very much. What am I gonna do? I guess I can restart the music from the beginning again. This is not exactly paired with the story, but oh well. Here we go.就是刚才那个把亲 闺女毒死的亲妈妈。这脸，这身材，这说话的声音，没错，宁小耀能肯定，这就是那个狠心的亲妈，没有错。宁小耀这会儿如同被丧尸咬了一般的惨烈表情，看在太后谢氏的眼里，就是一种想哭，怯弱的神经。看来这女儿是被自己的父亲养成了一个废物。轻蔑不喜的心思被谢太后很好的隐藏了在了心底。太后娘娘明白，若是养出一个心大胆大，不对他们的话唯命是从的，那他们为了权势撒下的弥天大谎，就成了他们的罪命符了。that was tricky。圣上，这会儿头还疼了吗？谢太后声音很是温婉地问宁小耀道。宁小耀从床上跳了起来，光着脚直奔屋子里的铜镜。看见镜子里的人后，宁小耀双手抱住了自己的脑袋。为什么要让他面对如此惨烈的人生？他这会儿的这张脸，不就是那个穿着龙袍被亲娘毒死的捣蛋鬼的年少版吗？谢太后知道自己的这个女儿毕竟是个女儿身，在乎自己的貌相，起身走到了宁小耀的身后。谢太后说：“圣上，要是还疼的话，让太医来看诊，只是撞得重了些，皮肉莫破，不会留下疤痕的。”不用，宁小耀抱着脑袋说：“我就想静静，不要问我静静是谁。”圣上，谢太后伸手要拍宁小耀的肩膀，这话说的旁人都听不懂的，这是把脑袋撞坏了。宁小耀往旁边迈了一步，避开了谢太后的手，伸出来的手一空，谢太后这个精明的贵妇人马上就意识到宁小耀这会儿对她的回避了。谢太后眼角上挑的愤怒中马上就往上了泪水，手捧着心口道：“圣上还是在怪哀家。”这么一说，伺候谢太后的几个亲信妈妈就一起跟宁小耀跪下了。跪在最前头的顶头妈妈跟宁小耀说：“圣上，太后娘娘这些年不能与圣上见面，太后娘娘心里也苦啊。”小耀觉得这人能去当影后了，竟然能用这么一种痛心接受的表情跟他这儿说胡话。不见面是因为这个女人明明生了个女儿却骗自己的丈夫说生了个儿子，这女儿是打算把她藏在娘家一辈子不见光的，好不好？圣上，你原谅哀家吧。谢太后看着宁小耀流泪。宁小耀，呵呵，虽然不是拼杀在第一线的作战人员，但宁医官在末世也是砍过丧事的人。仔细观察着屋中的环境，宁小耀思考着，他要怎么把这个心狠手辣，以后一定会杀了他的女人弄死呢？是直接踹死，还是抢把刀什么的捅死？谢太后见自己流眼泪了，这个回宫之后一直就想亲近自己，把她视为依赖的女儿还是站在那儿无动于衷。太后娘娘微微聚了一下眉头，这是出什么事儿了？都退下。谢太后命屋中的众人道：“哀家有话要单独跟圣上说。”忙就领日退了出来。见屋子里就剩自己和太后2个人了，宁小耀手握起了拳头，他弄死这女人的机会就在 眼前了. Right. Finish chapter 2. Okay, where am I from? Northwest China. How tall am I? 168 centimeters. That's about 5'5". And what are your opinions on cookies? I hate oatmeal raisin. Macadamia white chocolate chip is great. Oh, even though I'm Northwest, I've been in the US for over 20 years, so I don't know what my Chinese accent is anymore. How do I get you to notice me? Give me food and cake whenever I have a new chapter out. Hold on. Let me go look at the pings at the back to see if I missed anything, okay? That really nice panda guy. He's great. He's my friend. And then sometimes he gives me meat. Oh, isn't Mama Momo? I don't know. In the dictionary it has like Mama and it has Momo. Because I know Time Bond translates it as Momo, but I do Mama. There you. Well, that's pretty direct. We don't even know each other yet. At least like take me out first. Oh, thank you, Prady. What do you think about cookies? What's the difference between C and K? I hope you didn't make them out of Koo. If you did, I might have to hunt you down. Oh, I'm hunting you down. Yes, thanks, Time Bun. Shoot Veil. Shoot Veil. How much do you love me, Stu? You're the best. You make me all these pretty graphics. I want to go to date. Who are you? Oh, Pion, I don't recognize you when you keep changing icons. Oh, jeez. Your loot. Oh, thank you, Bill. Excuse me. I have to pause to eat. Thank you. Oh, talk about me, Mr. Priest. Oh, everyone, Mr. Priest is the guy who updates our table of contents. So yeah, he's the one that goes around to everyone's novels and makes sure our chapters are up to date every few days. So give him a thank you. Thanks for reading it in Chinese. No problem. Was it the Messiah or you, Waffle, who told me to? So you're from Northwest China? Yeah, I moved to the US when I was like 4.5, followed my parents over. I'm like next to province, next to Xinjiang, but I'm not in Xinjiang. Thanks, Ruyi. You're welcome, Rabbit. Thanks for the table of contents. Oh, Grenn, I love you too. Mwah. Mwah. Yes. Nothing Manto. You. Hey, that's me. Something. To be victorious is to be Prady. Huh? Hey, I got tricked into that. Okay. What is your opinion on rabbits? You have to pet them. Don't stew or steam them. The only things you should like stew or steam are things like stew or maybe punda and things like that. Oh wait. Dun. Vitamin. Thanks for the chapters. Get me. Oh great. I hope you really like the novel because it's very unique transmigration novel. Oh, I got a PM. I think my time is almost up. Okay, so now that my time's almost up, I'm going to yield the mic to the next in line, and we can chat anytime. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Yay! Thank you, Ruyi. I'm next. But if you guys have more questions or comments or Ruyi, at the end, depending on how. Hi, Skria. So what I have lined up for you guys next year in fall, chapter 140. For those of you in chat who are not current readers of DCF, it's an awesome novel that you should really read because the comment section regularly reaches posts 100 plus comments with fanfics, pictures, lyrics, and stuff like that. It's pretty darn awesome. Oh, am I cutting out, guys? Can you hear me? Is my connection okay? Was better now? Okay now? Okay. Okay, awesome. And then, so I've got one chapter. Do a small sneak peek of this new that's coming up in 2 chapters because bushies have been shaking the pitchforks for it. I will do... Oh, I'm still cutting out? Weird. let me disconnect and reconnect. Give me a couple seconds. Oh, it's regional? Well, I'm in Taiwan, and the server is, the Discord server is US West. So maybe listen to the recordings if I'm still cutting out for you. Okay, so then this new part of it will be English, and then part of it will be in Chinese. Okay, so, and then after that, I'm going to do like a page preview from my upcoming novel, Return of the Swallow, whenever that may be released, hopefully sometime next month. So then here we go, chapter 140. Oh, chapter 140. It's the next chapter for DCF. Chapter 140, Crying from Happiness. Bai Xiangshou hadn't thought that he'd end up changing his mind halfway through, but his nodding head was proof that he wasn't joking. Going back tomorrow would be the same. It was still the same preparations that she had to make. Therefore, she curtsied towards Long Hen and Song Jiayue as she took her leave. On her way out, she wondered what was wrong with the two men inside. Both of them sported bloodshot eyes, like they were two wolves. Even the guards she passed by turned to look at her in her wake. Their looks similar to Long Hen and Song Jiayue. This is when she finally understood. Hot damn! This is all thanks to that 3 days of inebriation. It seemed that setting foot outside her door today was a bad idea. She couldn't run into any more men. Having decided that, she sped towards her room. Unfortunately, who she ended up running into wasn't a man, but rather a woman. More importantly, that woman was Yaya, the one who'd become a bit cocky simply because she'd been reborn. There was nothing bad about being reborn. Bai Xiangshou actually rather liked reading about the characters who'd been reborn into their younger selves and gone on to crush their enemies, setting foot onto a new path of light. But why could this girl harm someone who had nothing to do with her, and go to the lengths of disfiguring a stranger to boot? Although Bai Xiangshou would recover, it'd take her at least half a year. Thankfully, Yaya hadn't been wielding a knife. If she slashed at Bai Xiangshou with a knife instead, who knew how many years would be needed to recover then? She'd be an old, wrinkly mess by that time. Wait a second. It's not like I can rely on seducing the male lead to ensure my safety. So what if I become an old, wrinkly mess? Well, now wasn't quite the time to think of such things. Yaya was about to walk up to her. The latter seemed quite surprised. Ah, Madam Xu, what's happened to your face? If it wasn't for Bai Xiangshou guessing that Yaya had been behind everything, she might have been a bit touched by the latter's concern. But her heart was filled to the brim with every curse she could think of, despite not voicing any of them. Nevertheless, Bai Xiangshou put on a very pure and innocent expression as she looked at Yaya. They were both female supporting characters, but see how thick-faced Yaya was. Did she really think that no one had guessed at the things she'd done? It still came down to that saying, that the moment one felt they were clever was the moment to pay attention, because there were so many more in the world who were much more clever. Therefore, Bai Xiangshou touched her face and pretended to be downcast and dejected, running off with her face in her hands. Yep, she ran off. Wasn't Yaya here to see how she was injured? Women cared most about their faces, particularly beauties. Therefore, Bai Xiangshou had been so affected by this that she couldn't bear it with her tender heart. This is why she'd run off in tears. As for why in tears, that was naturally because she didn't like conversing with this reborn female supporting character. It was too tiring to even contemplate the thought. It was best to avoid people like these as much as possible. And if she couldn't, then she'd have to declare war. indicating her submission to someone like Yaya would only result in hardship for Bai Xiangshu. Or put it another way, trouble was heading for Bai Xiangshu regardless, so why not resist some? Either way, it helped vent some of her ill feelings. However, the other wasn't willing to let her go even if Bai Xiangshu was. Yaya stretched out her hand, halting Bai Xiangshu in her tracks. Yaya actually felt the situation to be quite odd. It was one thing for her master to not touch Bai Xiangshu because of his fastidiousness, but why hadn't that Luo Yongzhen done anything to Bai Xiangshu? Is he truly a man or not? But how would Yaya know that Luo Yongzhen had taken only one look at Bai Xiangshu before leaving? He didn't even take a close whiff of her. Not to mention, it would have been one thing had Bai Xiangshu been alluring and tantalizing, but with her decrepit state back then, what man would have felt any desire for her? He would have rather died instead. Madam Shou, I know you've suffered. Please feel free to tell me anything. I'll take revenge for you. Yaya laughed coldly in her heart. There's no way she knows who's harmed her. Honestly. Had I had the time, I would have added another scratch to the other side of her face that day. Yaya was quite jealous of Bai Xiangshu's tender skin. Bai Xiangshu wasn't at liberty to reveal what she knew, in case the male lead's plans were foiled, even in the face of Yaya's persistence. So she resolved to sob as if in great distress. My life is ruined. Yeah, right. How can that be? You'll recover soon. Yaya snorted coldly. Women of the rear court cared most about their faces. The prince would likely never pay attention to her again now that her face was ruined. Bai Xiangshu could naturally discern that the female supporting character's goal was Prince Li. However, it had been written quite clearly in the novel that it was beautiful women who knew how to seduce men that Longhen hated most. He'd never once shown a kind face to her, particularly after suspecting her identity. Of course, this was still much better than her perverted master. However, Longhen had had one of his subordinates pretend to be infatuated with Yaya in order to test her out. But the two had ended up in bed in the end. Although Bai Xiangshu didn't know what Yaya's fate had been at the very end, she had the feeling that it hadn't been good. Then again, which of the female supporting characters had a good ending in the novel? All of them had ended up by the wayside one by one, thanks to the prince's runaway consort. None of them had been spared from being cannon fodder. The character Bai Xiangshu had actually been one of the stronger female supporting characters in the novel, since she possessed many ingenious schemes. She wasn't one of those brainless supporting characters, but had still ended up being cannon fodder in the end. A girl like Yaya, though it was true that she served a perverted master, her attitude had also been a product of men as well. A certain portion of men had found her mixed features intriguing and was willing to be used by her for a while. This is why she'd been a bit arrogant in the novel and had been a bit of a haughty beauty. It was also why that perverted master of hers had kept training her. Just from her current performance, Bai Xiangshu felt that, in terms of battle strength, Yaya really wasn't suited for the politics of the rear court. Thank you, miss, for your kind words. But the prince, I'm afraid the prince... Bai Xiangshu cried up a storm and managed to run off without finishing her. Yaya didn't hold her back this time because she'd heard what she wanted. Longhen had likely lost interest in the great beauty that was the fourth madame. Then, could she make use of this chance to steal a march? She immediately ran back to report today's findings to Duan Yunying. She wanted her perverted master to approve of her attempt to seduce Longhen again. Bai Xiangshu, on the other hand, stopped crying when she returned to her room. Xiao Shi had wanted to comfort her mistress, but was not at a loss of what to do. Her mistress's tears had dried up almost instantly. She'd been brainstorming ways to comfort her mistress on the way back. But now, did she swallow those words? Madame Cho, the prince didn't seem to dislike her. It's not because the prince doesn't care that I'm happy. These are tears of joy. Bai Shanshou was praying that Yaya would go seduce Long Hen again. She would use her own head as a soccer ball if Long Hen didn't trample all over Yaya. Tears of joy? Xiao Su had to say she really hadn't been able to tell at all. It was likely that everyone around her thought Bai Shanshou had been sobbing because the prince disdained her now that her features had been destroyed. Only those close to her knew that the prince's attitude hadn't changed at all, and in fact, he seemed to care even more about their mistress now. Only Bai Shanshou remained oblivious to the fact that, thanks to this incident, her reputation had quickly spread throughout the region. It wasn't a reputation about her beauty, but how mesmerizing she was. Most of the rumors spoke how Long Hen's concubine was so utterly tantalizing that any male who approached her would be so attracted they wouldn't be able to walk straight. Even the most steady of divine beings would lose their composure when they detected the fragrance radiating off her body. And that was chapter 140. Let me quickly scroll to see if I have any questions. No, not at the moment. Then I'll quickly jump to a sneak peek, P-E-E-K, of this new chapter. Just a quick portion of it. I don't want to spoil too much. It's a fun chapter. So part of it is TLC. I'll read the TLC, then I switch to Chinese. Let me see. So this is 2 chapters from now. Bai Shanshou was becoming a little dizzy from resisting the effects of the poison. Noticing Long Hen had drawn closer to her, she subconsciously raised her hand to trace his masculine face. His face was very, very warm to the touch. It was so warm to the extent that it felt like it would scald her heart. She even stopped using Your Highness when calling for him, instead calling him directly by his name. Long Hen. It's me. It was the first time she'd ever taken the initiative. She was getting bolder now. However, how would Long Hen possibly have the heart to contemplate whether she'd gotten bolder or not? A hot-blooded man like him couldn't withstand the slightest stimulation. Moreover, the enticement from the 3 days of inebriation, added with Bai Shanshou's bit of self-assertiveness, made his heart pound wildly. He quickly stripped off his clothes without a further word and took another glance at Bai Shanshou. The look in her eyes was hazy, and she laid on the bed, panting slightly. 大概是因为看到了他的身子，脸上似是着火了般，倏地转过了头。可是他却想让他看看自己，于是将他的头扶正。可是白香寿真的觉得龙恒的身材太好，好到他不敢直视的程度，所以再瞧一眼，他立刻就变得不太正常了，甚至想动手摸一摸。事实上，因为他现在的胆子太大了，所以竟真的摸上去了。And that was the sneak peek. It'll be out in 2 more days. I almost wondered if I should have read this new chapter. What if I actually gotten some spoilers? Fun! But if I marry you, someone's going to hit me. Okay. Any chat? Any questions? I'm not an S. Ah, I can do SOTR sometime on the Wuxi. Well, if you're my groupie, Peon, you're my groupie. Okay, I will. Groupie zoned. Oh, sorry, what'd you ask at? Ping me. I didn't see it. Okay, well then I will read a quick snippet from my upcoming Return of the Swallow. It's a novel that, oh, let me paste the TOC link into the chat actually, so you can kind of understand what I'm reading about. It's going to be a portion of the first chapter. So this is my upcoming novel. I'm really super excited about it. I actually thought the summary was super cliche and actually really cringe when I read it, and I almost did not read this novel because I felt that it was so cliche. But thankfully I did, because it has absolutely riveted me when I started reading it. Oh, sorry, my mic is close to my the right-hand side of my keyboard, so when I type, it sounds really loud. Okay. When will I post it? Hopefully, I will launch it next month. That's all my stockpiles and everything are in good shape. So, Chapter 1. Return to the Manor. Now, oh, by the way, ROS, I kind of think of it as a ancient China version of. I'll just quickly read my own synopsis for it, for those of you who haven't clicked through to it. So my own synopsis for it is that, reclaimed by her noble family after a hellish childhood that wasn't meant to be hers, Qing Yinlin is bestowed the gift of a hellish family. Just as she turns her lot around and gains acceptance, her country is plunged into danger. In this absolutely riveting and spellbinding tale, what does our MC do when an entire dynasty is at stake? Okay, so Chapter 1, Return to the Manor. The 10th month of the year had just arrived. It was not yet the 8th day of the month, which would herald the coming of winter, but the weather had already begun to turn cold. Even the few pots of chrysanthemums placed along the hallways of the upper house in the Prime Minister's manor were slightly wilted. A great matter had occurred in the estate, and the servants had no mind to spare for the flowers. The chrysanthemums were left to weather the wind and frost as they would. Qing Mama rubbed her hands together and huffed into them as she walked swiftly into the garden of loving piety, passed through a connecting corridor, and set foot onto a passageway paved with square limestones. She hurried all the way to the main house, her inky green cape woven of fine cotton fibers fanning out behind in her haste. When she reached the corridor of the main house, a young maid, yet to grow out her hair, eagerly offered forth a brass cauldron hand-warmer. "You're back, Qing Mama." Qing Mama raised an eyelid at the girl, and the latter immediately made herself scarce. The padded, heavy curtains outside the doors of the main house, embroidered with inky green characters of fortune and longevity, raised upwards as head-maid Jixiang ducked outside after hearing the disturbance. When she saw Qing Mama, Jinsha quickly pulled her aside and said, "Look, old Dowager is feeling a bit better now. Girls are keeping her company." Qing Mama rubbed her chilled hand against the handle, responding similarly, "Is Senior Madame in?" Jinsha shook her head and pointed in the direction of the Garden of Tranquility, gesturing like she was crying. "Second Madame and Third Madame are trying to talk." Her expression then turned serious. "Has the Lord brought the person back yet?" Qing Mama nodded gravely as Jixiang's series of minute changes. The two lifted the curtains and went inside, placing the hand warmer on a sandalwood accent table with bowed legs that was sitting in the corner of the outer wall. Qing Mama patted her cheeks, slightly stiff from the cold, and squeezed out a small smile that was appropriate for the occasion. Only then did she swiftly trot around the black lacquered panel carved with magpies alighting on plum blossoms and shifted into the side hall. Compared to the outer room, the old dowager's usual quarters were spring at this moment. Sunlight streamed in through windows gridded with aerial paper, plating the exquisite carved sandalwood decorations inside with a soft layer of light. Pale green flower-themed brocade cushions on chairs, and flowers blossomed on soft brocade carpets from Persia. Fine, glittering charcoal simmered in a brazier in the middle of. Two young married ladies, attired in fine jewelry, were shifting stools to the brazier for, and 5 other charming young girls were either standing or sitting next to the lohan that had been placed by the window. It was made of sandalwood and adorned with carvings of witches and. "Oh, Dowager," Qing Mama made her greetings. Everyone in the room quieted in bizarre accord, and they all looked at her with strange expressions. The old dowager's face darkened. She spoke lowly. "Has she been brought back?" Qing Mama carefully bent at the waist with her head lowered. "Yes. This servant received a message from those serving in the side. They say that the senior master, second elder master, master and second master brought the girl through the door of ceremony. This servant hastened to bring you this message then." The old dowager's frown deepened. "But did you see what kind of girl she is?" She spoke coldly again without waiting for Qing Mama. "She's a girl from our household, no matter what. Our darling Huining has been with us 15 years. I've held her in the palm of my hand and loved her as my precious jewel. How did she turn from my dear granddaughter into a fake one?" The girl clad in blue, sitting closely to the old dowager, started sniffling and crying again when these words had been said. The old dowager sighed and tugged on the blue-clad girl's hands, soothing her. "Don't cry, my darling. My heart breaks when you cry." Qing Huining hiccuped as she drew closer to the old dowager, tears streaking her. Her bright, almond-shaped eyes were now puffy like walnuts after all the crying she'd done. "Grandmother, your granddaughter has so freely enjoyed all to you and the Qing family. How can your granddaughter be fake? How can I be fake?" The room was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop as she sobbed out her grievances. All of the girls in the room looked at the old dowager together. That was a snippet of Return of the. I hope you guys like that. And sorry, apparently my voice cut out for. Oh yeah, you guys probably heard the sirens in the background. I don't see any questions for me. So I will hand it over to the next fellow in line. Adoptive girl Selutu.
I object, but I guess my objection failed, so yeah, let's get right to it. So what I'm going to be reading is Rebecca Server, as you guys may or may not know I translate. So yeah, I will be reading the one or even both of the chapters that will be released tonight, depending on the amount of time we have. And then yeah, for those of you who don't read Rebecca Server, it's basically a story about the main character Ye Zichen. He finds this special chat group on WeChat which he got invited into, and then that's the initial premise of it. But then as the plot develops, he slowly gets introduced to more about the world, and he also finds out more about himself and about his role in the world and in the entire of the 3 realms and more. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Chapter 231, Previous Life. The entire classroom was shocked. Nobody expected that this new school beauty who had just transferred to Polytechnic University would be taken by the school beauty harvester so randomly. Even Ye Zichen looked at the girl in confusion. Ye Zichen, I'm never going to be done with you, someone shouted in the classroom, causing everyone else to shout the same. Not long later, only 10 of students remained in the classroom that was once full. Ye Zichen's roommates also smiled wryly. Kambong even sighed, then patted Ye Zichen's shoulder. Bless you. With that, Ye Zichen's roommate left the classroom in depression. A hint of a smile surfaced on Lulu's face in secret, but she still tilted her head. Why did they all leave? Girl, you truly kill without being detected, Ye Zichen led out a long sigh towards Lulu, then stood up from his seat and left. Hey, tall guy, don't leave! Not long later, the rest of the students in the classroom also left in pairs and threes. When Jinglei returned and saw the empty classroom. Where did they all go? On the sports field of Polytechnic University. Ye Zichen sat on the grass while an undeniable, helpless expression was on his face. Girl, just what's with you? While they sat on the grass, most students would look over at Ye Zichen with a hostile look once in a while. Lulu, who sat beside him, used her hand to block the sun, tilted her head, then asked with a cute expression, What's with me? What do you mean? You tell me what's with you, Ye Zichen turned and looked straight at her. Why did you have to say that in classes now? Also, can you stop following me? Because that's what I feel in my heart. I just want to follow you. Is that not okay? Seriously. Ye Zichen stood up in annoyance. Since I can't deal with her, I'll just avoid her. However, before he could even take a few steps, Lulu followed him once again like a shadow. What exactly do you want? Why are you being so mean? Lulu frowned while her bright eyes began to water. You weren't anything like this in your past life. You loved to follow me in your past life. Even if I chased you away, you would still follow me. This time, I'm following you, but you're actually so mean to me. If I knew this beforehand, then I wouldn't have come to find you. Lulu wrinkled her face as if she could cry any moment. Ye Zichen's expression stiffened as he looked meaningfully at Lulu. You what? Lulu frowned. All of a sudden, Ye Zichen felt like his brain was no longer enough. Past life. Do people really have a past life? Ye Zichen looked at Lulu in confusion, then sat down on the grass and asked curiously, Did I really have a past life? Of course, Lulu sat down right beside him. I found you according to the smell of your past life, but you aren't as cute at all in this life. Really? You don't remember anything at all? Lulu raised her eyebrows. When she saw Ye Zichen's confused look, she pouted. I told you before you can even become a deity if you ate that in a core, but you just refused. Every single one of Lulu's sentences completely challenged Ye Zichen's understanding of the world. Even though his heart kept on telling him not to continue asking since that might cause him unnecessary trouble, he still couldn't help but want to know everything. What kind of person was I in my previous life? You? Lulu smiled, then said with a faint blush, You were very cute in your previous life, very smart, and very responsible. You were also very heroic. Is that so? Ye Zichen was momentarily stunned. From the sounds of it, my previous life was pretty amazing. But why do I feel like I've lost to my previous life? But you also had a lot of girl friends around you at the time. After you died, some of them did seem to have reincarnated with you, but I can't compare up to them in regards to that. However, actually, I wanted to reincarnate with you, but Lulu bit her lips and wanted to speak, but then stopped herself. After a long time, she suddenly stood up and stuck her nose next to Ye Zichen, and looked at him straight in the eye. You have to believe me. There is a reason why I didn't reincarnate with you. Gulp. Ye-Zhi-Chen furiously gulped. She was too close. He could even feel her breath and smell the faint fragrance of her body. Ye-Zhi-Chen's heart started to race. At that very moment, Ye-Zhi-Chen! A beyond furious roar sounded out. Ye-Zhi-Chen's body shuddered when he heard that. Lulu also looked behind her. Oh? Oh, what? Xiaokoko put her hands on her waist, while Su-Yin, who was squinting as she hugged her shoulder, stood behind her. Don't you know that Ye-Zhi-Chen is Su-Yin's and my boyfriend? You aren't learning the right stuff at such a young age and actually learn to seduce someone else's boyfriend? You don't recognize me anymore? Lulu tilted her head and pointed at herself. Hearing that, Xiaokoko rolled her eyes. Who wants to recognize you? With that, she grabbed Ye-Zhi-Chen's arm. I looked away for just a moment and you're flirting with others already. Hurry up and leave. Have no more contact with this girl in the future. As Lulu saw that Ye-Zhi-Chen and Ko wanted to leave, Lulu frowned, then wanted to follow. Don't follow us. Don't think that we can be pushed around. If you piss me off, I know how to fight too. Xiaokoko glared at Lulu fiercely. Only then did Lulu stop, twitch her mouth, and muttered, Why are you so mean? You fought over him with me in your previous life, but I didn't act like this either. A hint of sadness suddenly surfaced on her face, while an unforgettable scene appeared in her mind. Su-Yin, Xia Li, stop! A woman that wore expensive clothing ran forward as she lifted her skirt with her right hand. Two women stood in front of her. Both of them were so dazzling that she was unable to compare up to them. Lulu, what do you come here for? Didn't you decide not to be with him anymore? Xia Li frowned. Meanwhile, a black door stood behind her and Su-Yin. Are you two really going to reincarnate with him? What? Su-Yin answered with a slightly cold tone, while she looked at Lulu with cat-like eyes and an unexplainable smile. Can't we? No. Why must you reincarnate over and over again with a mortal? What are you to get out of it? He won't have his memories of his previous life after reincarnation. Didn't you two tell me that yourself that staying by him who doesn't remember you is extremely painful? Lulu shouted with a frown. Su-Yin and Xiaokoko both smiled. However, if we don't follow him, we'll be in even more pain. Indeed, he didn't recognize us these few lives, but there will be a day that he remembers us. How special is he? Someone who is lucky in this life, should understand this more clearly than us. The future you will truly regret it. Su-Yin and Xiaokoko looked at each other with a smile, then stepped into the black gate together. I really should have chosen to reincarnate. I clearly had the upper hand during his previous life, but during this life, the two of you got to his side first. To be honest, I am regretting it. And that is the end of chapter 231. And so I see a ping, so I'll take a look at what it is before anything. Give me a sec. Okay, doesn't seem to be anything important. I don't seem... Oh, no sound? Wait, can you guys hear me right now?
We can hear you, or at least I can.
Okay.
I can hear you too. I just reconnect myself so I can hear you.
Okay. Let's wait. Yeah, okay, sure. I see the ping now. Moon Sia. Absolute, describe this novel in 3 words. Well, in 3 words, I suppose it's um world savior. I count that as one word, I know. Word two is mistakes. Basically, Yezicha makes a lot of mistakes and stuff that he regrets, and he will continue to do so over the course of the story. At least up to the Rose, he he still actually hopes that he's never actually pulled into this red packet server of the Heavenly Court, where he gets all these celestial red packets and all these powers and everything. And then for the last word, I would say it's destiny. Okay, so this is a bit of a spoiler, but basically, in the story, he is a certain great person in his first life who then chose to reincarnate over and over again for the sake of the realm that he belongs to. But then he also later finds out in parallel that there are parallel worlds, and basically everything he does until a certain point in the story has been set in stone and has been repeated over and over and over again. And in every single one of those parallel worlds, basically disaster happens. And the Yizichen of that world would then go along to another fresh world in order to try and change history, at least in one world. And that's also part of mistakes, where basically himself in the other dimensions keeps on making these mistakes, and there's basically an endless cycle until one point where Yizichen completely breaks, and then finally decides to take history into an unknown path. What do you mean it's all about fillers? No, it's not all about fillers. Let me see. Robert the Addicted. Butterfly effect? Yeah, sort of. Basically, he believes himself that if he's never come into contact with the whole group chat thing, none of the future disasters and tragedy would ever happen to him. And when you look at it from a reader's perspective, it's sort of true. Basically, he wouldn't be involved in all this, and honestly, some of the main characters wouldn't get involved either. And then, so yeah. Boss, do I still have more time to read another chapter, or what?
Probably not, silly.
Okay, no problem. And so yeah, that's the end of this session. So do check out Rip Packet Server. It is a different type of cultivation novel. It's not the standard just, oh, I reincarnated into a like trash's body and then I gained these mysterious powers, got lucky, etc., and then beat everyone. Instead, it's more of a story about destiny. Like I said before, it's a lot about. It's not just about harem and stuff. It does have a big part. The harem does have a quite rather big part to it, but it's actually tied to the history and mythology behind the Yellow Emperor, behind his past lives, and there in the Raws there are gradual explanations of why each of them appears, and it's not just for no reason at all. So yeah, and let me have the honor to hand over this to Kookie, who is our resident mascot and a Nekomi lolly. and she's cute. So yeah.
Of course, you would know that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, why wouldn't I? Are you reading your lolly voice?
I have no idea. Yes. So, hi guys. I'm Cookie, or Koo for short, and I'm doing TMK. This MC is kick-ass. It's a gaming novel about some really beautiful main character, as usual, who tried to create a character in game, got all her names rejected because they were already in use, and got given the name Nutjob by the system when she asked for a random name. So I will be reading the latest chapter. Well, to be released chapter. Should be released tomorrow. So, spoiler alert for those who haven't read it. Chapter 33. Anyone who played games would definitely experience something like this at some point in their gaming life. It had only been a few days since Shen Jingbing last logged into the game, but she now felt as if the entire game had left her behind and she was unable to catch up. After Shen Jingbing finished tidying up the house, she had logged into the game, her character still standing in front of the gates to White Cloud Temple. As she watched the players come and go, she felt as if a lifetime had passed since she'd last come to this place. However, the strange looks she received from players naturally still felt very familiar. Shen Jingbing glanced at her friends list and noticed that both Pure Crane and Quiet and Steadfast weren't online. Those from the guild who were online were all in instance dungeons. Playing games was only fun when one had many friends, and Shen Jingbing suddenly felt a tinge of sadness wash over her when the thought crossed her mind. However, she didn't let that feeling consume her, remembering that she still had the important task of leveling up riding on her shoulders. These feelings of sadness flashed across her thoughts for a brief moment before she then tossed them to the back of her mind. Shen Jingbing summoned her old horse, deciding to return to River City. Upon reaching River City, she headed straight for the system-owned shop, buying a few health and mana potions. Once she was done prepping, she headed on her way to level up. River City was the main city in the game, therefore, the system would naturally allocate many passerby NPCs around the area, giving off the impression of prosperity. To protect these normal NPCs from the attacks of wild beasts outside the city, a wide moat was erected around River City. Outside the city lay a desolate plain. Since it happened to be autumn, the sky was painted in the colors of dusk to represent the season. This plain was one of the many leveling areas in the game. There were plenty of weak monsters here that didn't hit very hard, but still gave pretty good experience. The only drawback of this place was that there were slightly more people training here. Once Shen Jingbing found a place where there were comparably less players, she recalled her mount and started fighting monsters. "Hey, ugly, move aside! Can't you see that we're occupying this place?" As she was fighting monsters, a hot female player wearing sexy clothes suddenly walked out. "Honestly, I'm not even in the mood to fight monsters anymore after looking at you. Hurry up and get lost." "No one gave you permission to look at me," Shen Jingbing retorted without stopping her attacks. "Are you courting death?" The female player was immediately incensed and threw a spell at her. The female player was a dragonkin, but her skills weren't anything to write home about, so Shen Jingbing dodged her attack with ease. The female player felt as though someone had slapped her across the face when she saw a newbie dodge her attack so easily. The female player had been put on a pedestal since entering the game. This was all thanks to the advantages that she'd gained through her looks. But now, an ugly newbie dared to embarrass her. How was she supposed to show her face if news of this were to spread? As a train of thought flowed in that direction, she launched her attacks as though she was tossing money around. On top of that, as if she herself wasn't enough, she even turned her head while attacking and shouted, "Gentle Hawk, White Ink, there's a newbie here stealing our territory." 2 high-level swordmasters heard her call and rushed over. "Who's the blind motherfucker here who dared to steal our younger sister, Timur's territory?" Forgive the language. Timur leaned cutely against these 2 swordmasters as they approached her, saying, "It's this ugly monster over here. Gentle Hawk, quickly help me beat her to death." The slightly shorter swordmaster, who went by the name of, seemed to be a tad bit more intelligent than his partner and said, "Newbie, we're occupying this place. Why don't you level up somewhere else? Otherwise, don't blame us for hunting you when we clear this area." Oh, hurting you when we clear this area. Shen Jingbing felt silent for a few seconds as she glanced at the trio standing in front of her. She kept her weapon out and summoned her mount, disregarding the taunts from Timur and Gentle Hawk, who stood behind her. She then turned and left without saying another word. Defeating those 2 swordmasters was impossible with her current strength. Besides, she had no intention of engaging in a meaningless 1 versus 3 battle. She could level anywhere. It wasn't worth her while to get involved in a fight to the death with those 3. Seeing as all of River City's surrounding areas were more or less occupied, Shen Jingbing could only head towards the mountain. There was a mountain to the west of River City called Nameless Mountain. When Shen Jingbing first heard the name of this mountain, she wondered whether the game developers came up with this name after running out of ideas. Nameless Mountain wasn't a very good training ground. There were only a few small instant dungeons from the foot of the mountain till halfway up it. The monsters that gave high experience points were all concentrated at the mountain's peak. However, those were all red-named monsters with high attack and hit points. Someone like Shen Jingbing who made their way up there would just be sending themselves to death's door. Unfortunately, Shen Jingbing didn't know about this since she was only a novice. Even though Nameless Mountain sounded a little unpleasant, it still offered a pretty good view. The 4 seasons in the game were in line with reality, so since it was the start of autumn, the game was currently set to represent autumn as well. Ancient trees that seemed to have been growing since the start of time lined both sides of the winding mountain trail. The color of the leaves were gradually starting to change, filling one's vision with brightly colored leaves for as far as the eye could see. In the game, River City was regarded as a central plain, with only South River and Thunder Marsh experiencing rainfall. The sunlight from the start of autumn unable to remove the remnants of the harsh summer weather. However, the dense and unevenly spread leaves blocked out most of the heat, so when the sunlight came in contact with her skin, it no longer scalded her with its scorching heat. Instead, it made her feel very comfortable. As a child of a rich family, Shen Jingbing never had the opportunity to experience the joys of nature. City life was too fast-paced, so trying to find a natural utopia such as this was akin to ascending to the heavens. Shen Jingbing unconsciously slowed her horse, admiring the unknown wildflowers that were hidden by the side of the road, as she enjoyed the warmth from the sun shining down on her body. At the same time, she indulged in her vicious sense of humor by scaring the small animals that occasionally popped out from the forest. As a southerner who had a poor sense of direction, it was only natural that she would get lost in the game very easily. Knowing that, she still chose to walk the road to ruin by getting herself distracted. Sure enough, she found herself lost after a moment of negligence. Logically speaking, She should have run into the first instance dungeon if she had followed the trail for just a bit. But now, leaving aside the fact that she couldn't see the dungeon, there weren't even any living beings in her surroundings apart from herself. All of the various wild animals that were haphazardly climbing her about had all disappeared. Roar! Suddenly, she heard the cry of a wild beast from out of her line of sight. It was a deep and low roar, filled with the wildness of an untamed beast. When she heard the roar, she immediately knew that it was definitely not your run-of-the-mill creature. And that's the end of the document that Sijil, the translator, gave me. So, the end. Do you guys have any questions? I have a lot to scroll through. I'm not roaring again. But I'm sure this is recorded, so you guys could probably end up playing it back. And yes, Pion and Skryia, I love you too. And thank you for the cookies, Vale.
Surprise GZ reading, everyone?
I vote yes.
GZ.
Okay. Thank you, Koo. That was a masterful reading brought to us by the Volare Master. And then last but certainly not, GZ!
Okay, how about now? I didn't realize I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to read The Lorax by Dr. Seuss in the manner that I read to my daughter. So, I don't have the actual book with me because it's in her room and she's asleep, but I have a PDF of it, so I should do all right. So is the volume okay? Alrighty. Alright, so let me get ready here. And I'm going to take off my headphones so I can hear properly. Alright. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere, from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? The old oncer still lives here. Ask him. He knows. You won't see the oncer. Don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkum cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of miff-muffered moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovulous glove. Then he grunts, "I will call you by whispermophone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone." Shloop! Down schlups the whispermophone to your ear, and the old monster's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he has smallish bees up his nose. "Now I'll tell you," he says, with his teeth sounding gray, "how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the Swami swans rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. And from the ripulous pond came the comfortable sound of the hummingfish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh buttery milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I'd built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft, and I knitted a thneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazoomp. I looked. I saw something pop out of a stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish, and oldish, and brownish, and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. "Mister," he said with a sawdusty sneeze, "I'm the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs." He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, "What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft?" "Look, Lorax," I said, "there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats." Lorax said, "Sir, you're crazy with greed. There's no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed." Very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees." "I'm busy," I told him. "Shut up if you please." I rushed across the room, and in no time at all built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, "Listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Wunster family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken. Sharp right at South Stitch." And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Wunster family was working full tilt. We were all knitting thneeds just as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds now 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your chat hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go around. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the oncer, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger. So bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered my roads. I biggered my wagons. I biggered the loads of the thneeds I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more thneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I'm the Lorax, he coughed, and he whiffed. He sneezed, and he snuffled. He snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a crepulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor Swami Swansway, they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. Once more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup, also sloppity-slop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old oncer man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall. The very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So, in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left beneath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he heisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away. Through the years while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the oncer, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the oncer. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest. Protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end. Now back to the audio.
Jeez, oh my OMG, you're so amazing.
Thanks. I haven't had a chance.
Any questions for GZ? Other than more, he can do more if he wants, but any questions for him? in the tree.
What tree? There were no trees, remember? You only had a seed. You had to plant it. I don't think there's a sequel, so I don't know what happened to it. Is that it? Do y'all want me to read one more or no?
That might be it for questions. Okay, well, I'll just say officially it's the end of our live reading session, but everyone's so free to stay and hang out and party on. It is Sunday night for some folks. Juicy wants to kick off the after party with another reading. Be my guest, but otherwise, thank you guys all for tuning in. This was really fun. In fact, it's given us inspiration for maybe something special we want to do this December. The Volare anniversary is in December and Christmas is in December. So this has been some really good inspiration for us all. Thank you guys all for tuning in again. Juicy wanted to do another. Take it away.